The Florida Keys is a barrier reef. It is basically the third largest in the world, and it stretches from north of Key Largo all the way down to Key West. We have over 500 different species of fish that live in our coral reefs.
They're home to probably as much biodiversity as a tropical rainforest, and home to species we haven't even discovered yet.
And the charge and the energy that it brings to you as you're descending upon these wrecks is just incredible.
It's so interesting, but spooky at the same time, looking at a man-made object underwater.
Educate these divers where when they leave, they have a new sense of why sharks are important and how they can become involved to help protect them.
It was a perfect day. There was zero current. The viz was 200 feet. It was absolutely flat, calm. It just went down without a hitch.
We needed to get ahead of it and rescue some of those corals. Make sure that we protected them, created a bit of a Noah's Ark, if you will, of those corals, because we were watching that disease just burn through our reef.
We want the corals to grow faster, to be more resilient, so we can catch up with the climate change that is ongoing.
I have every confidence that we can buy corals time to persist into the future.
We still have a planet that's tremendously bursting with life, and we still have a chance to maintain that.
Imagine being hit by 500 lightning strikes. We'll explore a shipwreck that survived such an ordeal before it settled into its watery grave. The spectacular reefs off Marathon in the Florida Keys are in jeopardy, but divers, including special ops veterans, have some unique ways to help preserve them. And you can do your part, too. Come down and let us show you the way.
With all the wrecks in the Florida Keys, you just don't know what's going to show up on any particular day. The Thunderbolt has some pretty cool history with it. It was actually used to monitor lightning strikes out at sea. So I think it had something like 500 lightning strikes to it.
It's been said that lightning doesn't strike twice, but when it comes to shipwrecks, that wasn't the case with Thunderbolt, located off the coast of Marathon in the Florida Keys. This 188-foot cable layer is known as the queen of the Marathon wreck fleet, and with good reason.
The history is always something that's really appealing, but we get all kinds of crazy stuff that's happened out on Thunderbolt. A couple years ago, we had great whites show up. I love life. Life is my big thing, and I know that if I go to the wrecks in the Florida Keys, life is going to congregate on it, right? I mean, I've seen manta rays on our wrecks down here. People have seen whale sharks. Not necessarily things that you're going to see on the reef. They're too big or they're too scared to come in that close for X number of reasons.
Thunderbolt is part of the Wreck Trek, a string of wrecks just off the coast of the Florida Keys, a diver's paradise. She was deliberately sunk in 1986 and rests in 120 feet of water.
It's perfectly upright. They sunk it intentionally. It landed exactly where it was supposed to go. The cutouts on that one, so the cutouts for swim-throughs on that one are a bit wider and more open than the bush. We typically will descend right next to the wheelhouse, which is towards the stern of the vessel, right? Big cargo ship. And that's usually the first time that I'll see Goliath groupers on there. It's usually that very first descent. They like the wheelhouse area. They're not always the super friendliest with people. They kind of like to hide, and they use that wreck to their advantage. They'll swim right inside and they'll find a little hidey hole. And so if you don't have a light, a lot of times people won't even notice that they're there. You know, you got a 700-pound fish right next to you. That's usually a really hot spot to see things like moray eels. They're all over in that area. And then as you swim forward and you kind of descend off of the sides, that's when you will see things like your sandbar sharks, your nurse sharks hanging out off the sides. Any diver will tell you that their favorite wildlife to see is usually going to be bigger than they are. right? From large sharks to manta rays to whales. You know, anytime we get to see those once-in-a-lifetime critters, it's awesome. And a wreck is always going to be bigger than us, right? So it's not, for me, I like that sense of scale. Is, oh, I'm really just this small part of all these big things. And that's something that I really enjoy about doing on the wrecks. Everywhere that you go in on that, there's pretty much a clear identifiable exit before you enter it, right? So you drop down onto the main stern part of the wreck, right? So it sort of sits at like a little bit of an angle, kind of like this. You drop it on the stern and boom, it kind of goes down and in. And you can literally go down and inside that area and weave around without losing track of where the exits are.
Thunderbolt is located in the National Marine Sanctuary. Her purpose? To serve as an artificial reef.
When we deliberately sink a wreck, we always look for where's the best place for this going to be. Is it going to be on a reef? No, because we're going to damage something that's already there, and that is not what we want to do. What we want to do is we want to take an area where there isn't anything that we're going to damage and put what's essentially an artificial reef. And then by having the coral growth there, that means the fish come in there to use it as protection, and when you get the little fish, that brings the bigger fish, which brings the sharks, which brings the predators. So what you end up having in a lot of places, you have animals that become sort of endemic to that spot, and they don't like to leave the wreck unless it's a natural cycle breeding, mating, things like that. But they'll stay on it because they have a perfectly self-sustained ecosystem that they like to hang out on. You can literally go down on most of the wrecks in the Florida Keys and see one whole entire ecosystem at work from the bottom of the food chain to the top. And just, it's nice to have that.
A wreck with a colorful past becomes the dramatic backdrop for countless fish and fledgling corals. Ask any diver which wreck in Marathon they must explore, and this is what you'll hear.
I mean, the Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt's just incredible. If you miss out on the Thunderbolt coming down to the Keys, you're cheating yourself.
There's a sense of urgency when it comes to saving our corals and reefs. Marathon has taken an active role in conservation and restoration efforts, working with organizations dedicated to this cause. They're hopeful that their efforts will pay off.
You're going to get to experience a part of the planet that very few people actually get to really enjoy, and you're going to get to do it in what I would consider complete serenity. You don't hear a lot of other things. So if you're in an area where you hear people talking all the time, it's really nice to get down and underwater and just sort of embrace the quiet. It's really an activity that's great for a lot of people. It's relaxing. If you've got back problems, the water releases the pressure off your back, and it can actually be a lot nicer underwater than it is up on the surface.
Diving off Marathon is considered paradise, but just a few years ago, divers began thinking that this might become a paradise lost.
We were having bleaching, but it was patchy bleaching because the temperature would get hot for about a month and then it would cool down and the zooxanthellae algae would come back to the corals. If we're able to lower the planet's temperature, the coral may survive better, but there's all different kinds of stresses on the coral.
While the ocean's warm, what's occurring above sea level isn't helping.
The oceans absorb at least 50% of the CO2 in the atmosphere, at least, if not more.
The concern is that as CO2 levels rise, so will the level of acidity.
The ocean's becoming more acidic. And as the ocean becomes more acidic, all the different things that make their skeleton, corals, bivalves, are not going to be able to reproduce. There's a marine scientist out of Ireland who said that if we don't change the acidity level of the ocean by 2050, that's not a long way away, that all the bivalves won't be able to make their shells.
In other words, clams, oysters, mussels, and scallops may struggle to survive.
And that's just the bivalves. Coral, the calcium carbonate skeleton, doesn't need acidity, and that's what's going to break that down. So all these different stresses that are on the coral are what's causing coral reefs all over the world to have a problem. We've probably lost worldwide minimum 50% of the coral life worldwide. The barrier reefs lost over 40% in the last 3 years alone.
Spiny coral disease that came through?
Well, the disease that came through 4 years ago was absolutely terrible because it would kill a coral head in 10 days.
This isn't just a Florida problem. Iconic reefs as far away as Australia are also at risk.
Nobody wants to lose their coral. And we talk about our economic impact. Australia's scared because the Great Barrier Reef is a $7 billion industry, and if they lose their corals, what's that going to do to that industry and the people who depend on it for their livelihood?
With so much at stake, we're in a race against time to come up with unique solutions.
One of the things that we're doing now is what we call a vern, and it's made out of rope. And so what we do is we take, after we frag the coral to a particular size, we open up the rope, we stick it in there, and then we float it up to the surface. And when it grows, we can take the whole vern, all 25 feet of it, with anywhere from 20 to 30 corals on it, and plant it at one time. So we can plant, using that technique, we can plant more corals at one time. And the coral will actually grow over the rope. The more coral we can plant, the faster we can plant it, the more we can plant, the greater the chances we have of saving the reef. Some of the corals that we've outplanted over the last 4 years are still extremely healthy.
And when you consider what's at stake, it will take dedication and human ingenuity to rescue our corals.
The coral reefs of the world make up less than 1% of its topography. They hold 25% of all species life.
Corals are under assault. As ocean temperatures rise, many hang in the balance. But off Marathon in the Florida Keys, on Sombrero Reef, many corals will survive.
It's all interconnected, and people don't realize how interconnected all this is. And one of the things I tell people, and this may sound funny, so you know what a honeybee is? You know what fire coral is? Do you know that the toxin in a honeybee is almost identical to the toxin in fire coral? Kind of funny that an ocean thing and a land thing have something really similar in common. So everything is interconnected, and we have to take care. We're supposed to be the stewards of the planet, so we're supposed to take care of it.
But that's easier said than done, especially when you don't live near the water. That old adage, out of sight, out of mind, isn't far from the truth.
When people come from Iowa, how do I get the Iowa farmer to understand how important the ocean is to him? So if that's a message we have to get across to people. The oceans make up 71% of the Earth's territory.
The way to make them care is to show, not tell. And some of the best coral ambassadors are the Florida Keys dive shops.
As the dive shops get involved in it, they understand the validity of the coral reefs and what we need. If they run coral programs, they usually get people that want to come and help. If we have 18 divers to go out into the nursery, we can really do a lot of work in those 2 dives that we take people on. And we've had people coming from all walks of life. We have wounded warriors. We have Force Blue, which is retired military special forces divers.
I literally have taken 4 entire generations of people diving at the same time. From great-grandpa to great-grandkid, I've done that before, and I am a firm believer that the more people we get involved in being underwater, the better our oceans are gonna be for it, because when people realize there's this spectacular world that's been out of sight, out of mind, and then all of a sudden it's there. There's dolphins, there's sharks, there's turtles, there's everything from really big to really small that you just can't see anywhere else. I really think that's what the world needs as far as taking care of our oceans.
And you'd be surprised at how little effort it takes to prepare for this experience.
So you come down in the morning and we walk you through a workshop. It takes about an hour, hour and a half. We go through all the different tools you may use, and there's nothing really special. And we show them some of the techniques that we're going to do. One of the newest things that we're doing is we're taking the traditional coral trees, which were invented at the beginning of this millennium, around 2000, 2001. The coral trees were made out of fiberglass, and you had to stagger them, and they're big, and they need to be cleaned.
You may be asking yourself, does cleaning corals really make a difference?
We'll talk to people and we'll say, your efforts help. And most divers, I'm not going to say all, but most divers are ecologically minded. Once they see the beauty of the coral reef, they see the animals, they want to help. And so the problem with everybody is to get the word out that you can come down here and you can plant coral, and you can, or you can take care of the coral in the nursery, and you can see this stuff grow. And it's really neat.
Seeing, touching, and working with corals creates an understanding that we're all connected and we all need each other.
We need the ocean to survive, not only just for the food source that it provides, but the coral reef that helps provide oxygen to the world provides more than the Amazon rainforest. One of the things that everybody worries about is, will my great-grandkids get to see this reef? If we get more people in the water, absolutely. I 100% believe that.
A few years ago, a disease called stony coral tissue loss swept through Florida's corals. The people of Marathon had an idea, a way to stem the tide, and they turned to Force Blue, special operations veterans, for help.
This partnership really benefits from the things that both groups can provide. Our group with NOVA, we've got a strong scientific diving background and have done a lot of the research that leads to what we know today and where we are now. And then Force Blue brings all of this great energy and all of this manpower and this ability to go out and accomplish these amazing tasks that really just would not be achievable by any other group. Instead of being able to save 20 corals, we might be able to save 200 or 2,000. Welcome out to Lou Key. This is kind of the crown jewel of the Florida Keys. What we're doing out here is combating stony coral tissue loss disease. This disease has been working its way down the Florida Keys for about the last 4 years, and it is hitting Lou Key right now. So we're out here to do what we can to save these corals, save this crown jewel. Nobody else is coming out, so let's make it happen.
I'm going to do most of the recon out here today to save us some time in searching for these corals. So I'm going to go down and delineate and mark off each coral we need to do. When you guys get there to that coral, first thing you're going to do is bust out all your tools, obviously. If you are on the chlorine team, we're going to start off by putting the nails in, and we are going to do that trench first. Fill in that trench with the chlorine. You fill in the disease border margin as well. We want to make sure that is well covered. Same deal for the amoxi team. You guys are not doing the trenching. You are just covering that disease border with the amoxicillin. And it seems to at least slow the spread down some. We do have some evidence that it's helping to stop it entirely on some corals, but they are all individuals as we are, so they're all going to react different. Our second treatment out there is a little bit more intensive. We go in and we create an actual fire break in the tissue of the coral between that disease margin and the healthy tissue. With the help of that and some epoxy that is dosed with some chlorine, we are then coating that disease margin and that trench to try and stem the tide of this.
My whole diving career, it's been don't touch the coral, only look at it. And here I am grinding right into it. It is a bit of a moment. And but it's got to be done if you want to help save whatever we have left of.
The thing that strikes you is, you get trained about this disease in the classroom, and then you get down into the water, and what do you find? Just you can see it. You swim a little bit, and you see the white patches of exposed skeleton where the soft tissues of the coral has just died, and there's little live pieces of coral in between it. There's so much of this disease about, and you can see the dead corals where it's already hit, and it just wiped out some of the corals, and then you can see where it's spreading. So it's nice to be able to think that we can actually do something about this.
It does require immediate attention, and it does require innovation at a scale that we've never seen before.
I think guys like us, service doesn't stop. As long as I can do something, I'm going to do something. And at this point, I feel like this is the biggest issue we have right now.
I see faith and commitment and a lack of fear. Just because something is hard, we can't do it. That's not the Force Blue way.
It gives me a lot of pride. Again, a sense of purpose gives me pride alone. But knowing that there's something I can see in the water, something I can do that creates a sense of belonging to the ocean is insurmountable to how I want to live my life continuing on.
It's a bonus for us that they are helping us in return because they are fixing our livelihood. All in all, they're helping us, and I hope we're helping them some way.
I do see hope. I mean,
You know, you're getting scientists and veterans together working very hard. You know, I mean, it would be really easy to quit.
I would like to see our response become a model. Florida can become an example of how we face these challenges and what we can do about it.
I love it. I hope you guys stick around for a long time because you're truly inspiring me as well.
What an amazing team with an extraordinary mission. There's still more work to be done, but there are signs of renewal in places off of Marathon. It is here where divers and snorkelers can experience shipwrecks and reefs and celebrate what our oceans have to offer.